Hello, I'm Sensei Alex Kakuyo, regular contributor for Buddhistdoor Global. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Ordinary Buddhist. The title of today's talk is Chickens and Buddhist Faith. Before we get into that, I'll remind you to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. Also, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. The dictionary says that faith is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. That being said, faith is a bit of the dirty word in the Western context, since it's often been used to abuse or trick people who are said to not have enough faith, enough trust in a person. Sometimes we've been told that we have to have blind faith and trust someone completely without evidence. However, the word faith is used slightly differently in the Buddhist context. Trust and confidence are important parts of the practice, and we're told we have to develop faith in various Mahayana Buddhist sutras, the Pure Land Sutras, the Brahma's Net Sutra, the Nirvana Sutra, etc. However, it's not a trust that's unearned. To give you an example of this, I'd like to tell you a story about my chickens. So we've had them since they were little fluff balls, little chicks that could fit into the palm of my hand. Eventually they grew. After about 6 weeks, they were fully feathered and they were able to survive outdoors. They didn't need a heat lamp any longer. So you moved them outdoors into a coop that had a chicken run attached to it, so they could live indoors in the coop, or whenever they want, they can go outside and get lots of grass and sunlight and fresh air. However, I was quite surprised and a bit confused at first, because even though the door was open and the chickens could go outside whenever they wanted to, they didn't. And this isn't uncommon, I found out after talking to various chicken keepers. We have to remember that these individuals, these chickens, have lived indoors their entire lives. They'd never seen sunlight, they'd never seen grass, and they were afraid. They stayed inside the chicken coop even though there was a big, full world outside for them, because they lacked faith. In this case, faith in themselves. Now, as I watched them over the next few days, obviously ensuring that there was food and water inside the coop so that they wouldn't go hungry or be thirsty, they would do little experiments. The leader or alpha of the flock would stick her head out and look around, and then quickly run back inside the coop. And then the next day, she'd do that a few more times until finally she stepped out onto the plank that went down to the ground. And she'd go and she'd look around, and then she'd run back inside the coop. And every time she did this, the other chickens would watch her. Until eventually she did something incredible. She stood at the door of the coop, and ignoring the plank completely, she jumped into the air and flew down to the ground and started pecking in the grass. The other members of her flock saw this, and eventually they did the same thing. Now, they didn't stay outside very long that day, but they did go outside. And each day, their period outdoors got longer. And as they realized that they were safe and comfortable inside the chicken run, that nothing would harm them, and that there was food and water out there as well as inside their coop, they spent more time outside in the run because they developed more faith. But it wasn't a blind faith. It was a faith based on evidence and experience. They trusted themselves outside in the run because they'd gone out for short periods of time and not been harmed. This is the same way we use faith in Buddhist practice. It's not a blind trust or confidence. It's based on evidence. We experiment with the path. We stick our heads in and we look around to see what's happening. We meditate for a minute. And if that goes well, we meditate for 5. We do a 1-day retreat. And if we feel good about that, we do a 3-day retreat or a week long. We study with a teacher and we see how things go initially. And Maybe it's not a good fit, so we go find another teacher. Or maybe we find out they're very deeply realized and they're telling us exactly what we need to hear to move on with our practice, so we develop our faith in them. But our faith in the teacher and in the practice is never blind. Rather, it's a chicken-like faith. A faith based on experience, based on sticking our heads out to see what will happen. If we use the word faith in this context, it stops being scary and instead becomes an integral part of the practice. It's something we do not because we were told we have to, but because we feel good about it. Because we have gathered enough evidence to know that we can trust in the people and the institutions that are part of our Buddhist practice. And as we gain more faith in them, we inevitably gain faith in ourselves and our own Buddha nature. Amitabha.